The market was chaos. The smells of sizzling meat and strange spices mixed with the metallic tang of the city's smog. Traders barked prices over the roar of ship engines overhead. Humans, Krelli, Vorthons, and at least 6 other species brushed past each other under the open-air canopy. Jack Soren moved carefully through the crowd, one hand on the satchel strapped across his chest. His contract on Argus 4 was supposed to be routine, deliver medical supplies to a frontier clinic. Instead, the local authorities had misplaced his shipment, and now he was chasing paperwork through half the city. He was almost to the dock offices when he felt a tug at his sleeve. He turned. A child stood there, small, with pale lavender skin, large golden eyes, and a head crowned with tiny, glassy horns. Her clothes were patched and a little too big for her. "Human," she said, her voice high and urgent. "You have to marry my mom." Jack blinked. "What?" The girl didn't hesitate. She grabbed his hand, surprisingly strong for her size, and began pulling him away from the street. Come on, before they see you." Jack stumbled after her, too confused to protest.
Who's going to see me?
"And what's this about marrying your—" "You'll understand," she said quickly, glancing over her shoulder. They ducked down a narrow alley between 2 stacked cargo shops. The air here was cooler, the noise of the market muffled. The girl only stopped when they reached a small metal door at the far end. She pounded on it twice. A moment later, it opened. The woman who stepped out was tall, graceful, with the same lavender skin and golden eyes as the girl. Her dark hair was pulled back in a braid streaked with silver. She wore a plain tunic and work apron, her hands dusted with some kind of flour. "Lyra," she said to the child, her tone half scolding, half relieved. "What are you?" Her gaze shifted to Jack. For a moment, neither spoke. "This is him," the girl blurted. "The human. I found him." Jack raised his hands. "Okay, I think there's been some kind of—" "Inside," the woman said sharply, glancing toward the street. Jack hesitated, then stepped inside. The door shut behind them. The space was small but warm, part workshop, part home. The air smelled of baking bread and herbs. Lyra scurried to a stool and sat, watching them with expectant eyes. "I'm sorry," the woman said, folding her arms. "My daughter can be impulsive. Whatever she told you." "She said I have to marry you," Jack interrupted, because honestly, it needed to be addressed. Sari's cheeks darkened in a way he assumed was a blush. "I see. And I suppose she didn't explain why." "Nope." Lyra jumped in. "Because the overseers are coming. They said they'll make Mom marry that awful scrap dealer from Sector 9. But if she's already married, they can't make her." Jack stared. "So, you picked a random human?" "You're not random," Lyra said seriously. "You look nice. And strong. And you didn't yell when I grabbed your hand." Sari sighed. "It's true. The overseers control most of the trade in this sector. When someone refuses to sell their shop, they use other means. Bareric, the scrap dealer, has been after mine for months." "And marrying me gets you out of it?" Jack asked. "Temporarily," she admitted. "Their laws recognize marriage contracts from any recognized species. They'd have to challenge it through the council, which could take months." Jack rubbed the back of his neck. "And in those months, I could relocate, start fresh somewhere the overseers can't reach." He glanced between the two of them. Lyra's wide golden eyes were locked on him, full of hope and something else, fear. Jack had planned to be on Argus 4 for less than a week. But walking away from this, he'd never been able to stomach bullies. "All right," he said finally. "I'll help. But it's just a contract. Nothing binding beyond what keeps you safe. Deal?" Sari's shoulders eased.
"Deal."
Lyra beamed. I knew you'd say yes. The marriage contract was filed that evening at the council outpost. Jack kept his tone calm and formal, though the overseer clerk's glare promised trouble later. When they left the building, Sari exhaled heavily. You've made yourself a target, she said quietly. Wouldn't be the first time, Jack replied. They walked back to her shop in silence, but that night, over a shared meal of warm bread and spiced stew, Lyra peppered him with questions. Where he traveled, if humans really had oceans, if he could teach her to fix ship engines. Sari listened, sometimes smiling, sometimes frowning as if measuring him against some unseen standard. 2 days later, trouble came. Jack was helping Sari move crates in the back when the door slammed open. Bareric, the scrap dealer, filled the frame, thick-set, with a greasy mane of hair and a permanent sneer. You think a paper trick's gonna stop me? He snarled. Council won't protect an off-worlder like him. Sari stepped forward, but Jack moved faster. Step outside, he said, voice low.
Bareric laughed.
What's the human gonna do? Throw bread at me? Jack didn't answer. He just took one step closer. Then another. Something in his eyes must have gotten through, because Bareric's smirk faltered. Fine, the scrap dealer spat. Enjoy your little game, but I'll be watching. When he was gone, Lyra whispered, You scared him. Jack shrugged. Bullies scare easy when you don't back down. The days turned into a week. Jack found himself fixing leaky vents, hauling flour sacks, even repairing the oven. Sari worked alongside him, her guardedness slowly easing. Sometimes they laughed together. Sometimes they worked in quiet, comfortable silence. One evening, after Lyra had gone to bed, Sari said softly, I owe you more than I can repay. You don't owe me, Jack said. You and Lyra, you've made this place feel less like a stopover and more like, I don't know, a home. Something flickered in her eyes at that. The overseers made their move on day 10. A patrol came to inspect the shop. When Jack refused them entry without a warrant, they called for backup. The street filled with armored enforcers. Sari grabbed Lyra, but Jack stepped outside, his old combat training settling into place. You want trouble? He said to the patrol captain. You'll get it. And the council will have your badge by morning. The standoff lasted tense minutes until a crowd of neighbors began gathering. People Sari had helped over the years, traders Jack had quietly assisted. Their presence made the overseers uneasy. Finally, the captain called it off. This isn't over, he warned. Not for you, Jack muttered as they left. That night, Sari came to him in the kitchen. You could leave tomorrow, she said. You've done more than enough. Jack studied her. Do you want me to leave? She hesitated. I don't know. From the hallway, Lyra appeared in her night clothes, clutching a blanket. Human, please, she said softly. Don't go. My mom's the kindest. You have to marry her for real. Sari's cheeks flushed. Lyra. Jack chuckled. We'll see, he said gently. Right now, I'm not going anywhere. Lyra's smile lit the whole room. 2 weeks later, the threat had faded. The overseers backed off, and word spread that Sari's human husband was not someone to cross. Jack's ship was repaired. His contract was done. Yet when the day came to leave, he found himself standing in the doorway of the shop, bags packed, heart heavy. Sari stood beside him. There's a place at the table if you stay.